Lesley Myrick here. I am Nancy Gansikoffer's associate coach, back with the wonderful Teresa for our website wisdom. And today we are talking about branding colors for interior designers. And I know this is simultaneously a very important thing and also something that designers get very hung up on and maybe get too in the weeds on. So, Teresa, I cannot wait to hear what you have to share with us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here because this is one of my favorite topics. And you're right. I have seen people get really stuck and just paralyzed, literally, in choosing the right branding colors. What are the right branding colors? What are people going to think? What if they go out of style? What if this? And we get in this loop of fear that just freezes us. And literally, I spent 4 months one time working with a client, trying to get her settled on branding colors. And the struggle is she kept trying to do something that was trending, and she wasn't being herself. And that's why none of them felt good. Every new color palette didn't feel good because she was doing something that was not herself. And so finally I said, you know what, we're going to take a different approach. And she finally listened and took the different approach. And we looked at her world. We looked at her wardrobe. We looked at her designs, her mood boards that she did in school, all the things that we did. And we started seeing this beautiful rainbow of colors that was her. And it nailed her color palette instantly. And she was in love with it instantly. And so that's really what I want to talk about here is, instead of getting stuck and fearful and trying to fit in, take a look at who you are. And that's really what I want to chat about today. Maybe that's it. We could just say, hey, that's it. Just be yourself.
Stop, we're done. That is a great tip though, Teresa, because I think it's really tempting to look around, to look what are other designers doing, what's on Pinterest. If I Google trending brand colors, what's going to come up? And sure, you're going to find stuff, but if you're just chasing trends, like, we know this as designers, like, if we're just chasing interior trends, we're not going to make great creations. Like, we have to create from our intuition and ideas and our point of view.
Yes.
And it's the same thing when choosing your brand colors.
100% with that. I mean, remember the pink and gray trend there? I don't know if it was an interior design trend as well. I think it was, but like branding was all pink and gray and loopy scripts. And now when you see that, you almost cringe because you're like, God, I saw that so much.
You're like, oh, that was a moment.
That was a moment, right? So, but I do have a client who has those as her branding colors, and they're still true to her, because they were real. They were real to her, and they fit her beautifully still. So that's what we want to talk about here today. So I'm going to dive into some tips to help you get unstuck with your branding colors. Whether you're just creating your new branding palette, or you don't love what you have and you know it's time to do a shift and to come up with the colors that are truly you, that's what we're going to talk about. And the first thing I'm going to say is analyze your design portfolio. What have you created in the past? Because even though you're creating something for your clients, there's a piece of you in those designs. You want to capture their ideas, but there's a piece of you in that. And there are going to be things that you start to gravitate to. So themes, color preferences, design aesthetics, feedback that you got from your clients, things like that. Like, take a look at what you've created, whether it's the mood boards that you were creating or it's the new designs that you're working on now. Start looking for those themes and that overall pattern that is uniquely you, because it's there. It may be subtle, it may be underlined, but it's definitely there. And start picking up on the colors that you start seeing over and over and over again. And that's the first thing that I would recommend that you do. Simply look at your design portfolio. Okay. The next step then is I want you to look around you for inspiration. What do you bring into your own home? Like, if you look behind me, my brand colors are on my wall. Every time I try to get away from those brand colors, because I think I should do something different, I always gravitate back to these fall colors. And if you were to take a tour of my house, you would see fall colors everywhere, my wardrobe, all of those things, but also the house around me. Like, we have 5 acres where we live, and we're planting trees to bring in different pops of color. every year we add new trees. We're putting flowers in front of the porch to bring in different pops of color. We have gray siding, but we have a cedar porch because we wanted those different pops of color. So we're bringing in that nature's inspiration, and we're really trying to look at how to do that. And it relates to my branding colors as well. Those warms, the golds, the browns, the reds, things like that. That's where I'm getting inspired, is from those pieces itself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm looking at that painting behind you, and I can't tell what's hanging, but there's something vertical with like sort of like cream and orange and a rust color. I mean, those are your brand. You're living it in your, I was just thinking, I'm like, I don't know if I'm living my brand colors. I mean, I wear a lot of black, gray, and denim, but then I was like, okay, but if I do wear a color, it's going to be teal or chartreuse or a dusty pink. And those are all my business brand.
I can see them on I can see them in behind you right now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's just it. So look to, inspiration, from nature itself. Look at the artwork that you appeal to, whether it's artwork you own or just artwork that appeals to you. I'm very, like, recently I've been really getting into French Impressionism, but there's a specific type, the colors, the boldness, the excitement of that is appealing to me. And again, it ties in with my brand colors and who I am. And it's true and natural to me. And the funny thing is I've been in business now for 12 years, and I have tried very hard multiple times to not have these colors. And I don't, whatever bug got planted in my brain. We all buy into the, drink the Kool-Aid once in a while and buy into something dumb. But every time I do, within 6 months, I gravitate back to where I'm at, because it's just who I am. And so what appeals to you? You may have cultural influences, something that really pulls to you, and this isn't particularly a cultural influence, but like coffee being part of my brand, that wasn't something I did on purpose. I was just actually talking to my associate designer yesterday. We were chatting. She's like, how did coffee become your brand? And it was just something that people started associating with me. Have a cup of coffee and let's chat about the website. Have a cup of coffee. Let's talk about your branding. And so people just started associating coffee with me, and it naturally, organically became part of my brand. So that when I did my own rebrand a year ago, Caffeine Creative was the only one that made sense.
And it is so perfect. The colors, the feel, the vibe, all of that. Like you nailed it. I think it's great. And it's so different from what some other people in your space are doing, from what designers are doing. And I think that's why, and not even I know that's why it's so successful, because it's authentically you. It's who you are. It's what you love. It's what you believe in. And you're going to attract clients who like the same things as you. Yeah, I like coffee in autumn. Let's go, Teresa. Let's talk.
Let's chat right now. But that's exactly why. That's why it works. So when you're looking at those influences around you, pulling from your own personal experiences, cultural influences, art that you love, nature that you love, things that you put around you naturally, when you pull from that, you are genuinely 100% authentic. You're not just saying, I am authentic, like so many people do. You actually are being authentic. And the person that you see right here with you right now having this conversation is the same person you would see if you were to show up at my house and say, hey, I'm here for a cup of coffee. Or if you caught me at a Walmart or something and came up and be like, hey, I caught you on a video, and you'd see the exact same person.
Whereas if you are following a trend, you are creating this is what I should be showing the world. And it doesn't align with who you are, with your energy, with what you bring to the world.
Exactly. When you're following a trend, you're creating a character persona, and it's very much like you're doing acting, like you're creating a part, you're fulfilling a role, but you're not that person. You're just playing a role temporarily, and that's really hard to sustain.
That's great advice. You're right. It's like acting. It's not you. I'm trying to be trendy. I'm trying. There's this effort coming out of it. And not to say that creating a great brand doesn't take effort. I don't want that to be.
It does. No, it does.
It does.
It's real with who you are, for sure.
It's more about that introspective effort than let me be who is trending right now so that I can be whatever. I can feel this way, look this way. And that's not a brand. It's not a good brand anyway.
No, it's not. And what it really is the brand is just the extension of who you are as a person, so people know who they're going to be working with. And that's what you want to create with the brand. It's not just pretty colors, and it's not a clever logo. We love to think that it is,
Yeah.
but it's putting you at the very center of everything in it. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've talked about where you're going to get your inspiration, and we've talked about, what to pull from. And you might get to a point to where you have so much you don't know what to pull. So maybe you have a million colors that you want to bring into your brand, and that's a little excessive for your brand. Nobody will know who you are.
Yeah.
You want to narrow that down. So my recommendation, especially for interior designers, is create a mood board. Start gathering those inspirations, whether you're using Pinterest, you're using some of your own software, you're just using an old school bulletin board with magazine clippings. It doesn't matter. However you feel creative and fun, but create that mood board and start bringing in the things that you love that speak to who you are. Because now you're going to start, again, picking out those palettes. So like the one client, I had her take pictures of her wardrobe. I wanted, and her top 5 outfits. I wanted to see her wardrobe and how it was laid out. And she definitely was a color matcher. Some people match by style of like t-shirts here. She was a color matcher, and I loved it. It was beautiful. But then I also want to see her top 5 outfits. I wanted to see, what does she have on her nightstand? What does she see when she wakes up in the morning? What are the things that she wants to look at? Like, start pulling those pieces together that speak to who you are, that maybe have nothing to do with you as a business, but just you as a genuine person, and start creating that mood board, because then you're going to see those patterns much more clearly than if you just spend the time looking at your design portfolio. You might pull them out of your design portfolio, or in inspiration, you might find some things that you love, but when you create that mood board, you're really going to settle on that palette that you just can't get away from. For example, mine, I cannot get away from this color palette no matter how many times I've tried. And I don't know why I try, because it's fun to do something different. Probably it's the last time, but it still brings you up into that.
I love the mood board idea, Teresa, because then you can incorporate fashion and travel and interiors and all the things that inspire you, from the random bits and pieces that you're like, I just like that and I don't know why. Putting it together, just like we do with clients, you start to see themes, patterns, commonalities. Is everything very strong and geometric and bold and high contrast? Is everything very soft and feminine and pastels and greens?
Yes.
You're going to start, and it's going to be like, no one's going to hand this to you. You got to do the work to look at it and analyze it and think through it. But I love, that's such a fun idea to pull together. Here are things that speak to me. Let's see what they have in common, and can we start there rather than just, okay, here's a color palette. Do I like it? I don't know. Is that green right? Is that blue right?
Right.
Versus, let's take this and say, oh yeah, this has a real feel to it. There's a vibe here, and it's very like nebulous and abstract, but I think we get that as designers. We want that great vibe, that feel. And then once you've got that figured out, I think it's probably easier to be a lot more confident to say, here are my brand colors.
Yes. And I love that you brought in the feel, because that's the next thing that we want to talk about, is that feeling. And not only the feeling that you want to have as a designer, but how do you want your clients to feel? When you're sitting down with a client, you want them to feel a specific way. You want them to feel that they trust you, or you want them to understand that you bring a tranquility and a serenity to the project. Maybe you go for the bold and excited, but you have a feeling. Like with my clients, and I know I'm speaking a lot about my own brand, but it's because it's a genuine aspect of me. But I want them to feel warm and welcome, and that they're having coffee with a friend, literally. And so that is everything in the center of my brand. Every picture that is selected, everything that we're doing, it needs to have that feeling, that warm, welcoming invitation that is comfortable. And so that's why we make a point to do that. And these colors speak to those emotions. And it's something that is reiterated with clients say, I love that I got a chance to sit down with you. Even when I have a consult and it's not the right fit, they're like, I love that I had a chance to sit down with you, because I felt instantly welcomed. I felt comfortable talking to you about what I have going on in my business. And to me, that's the best testament. Even when I say, you know what, I'm not the right fit, but I know who you can work with. It's such an amazing testament, because I was a support and gave them that warm, welcoming comfort moment.
You've said the word warm several times, and I love it because your color palette is warm. Coffee is warm. Like, it all is part of the brand.
It's,
If you came in like a suit and like very severe look and it was a very formal meeting, it would make no sense with this caffeine, warm colors, relaxed branding. So your branding nails it. And I want designers to be aware of that. This isn't just colors. It's who are you? How do you present yourself? Are you warm and relaxed and inviting? Are you firm and formal and we are a fancy design firm? Is there something in between? Are you, sort of wanting to be aspirational to your clients? Are you wanting to be like the designer next door to your clients? Those are all very different feels and lend themselves to a very different visual palette.
and how you want to show up, that inner desire of how you want to show up is 100% correct. Do not let anyone talk you out of that ever. It's 100% correct. Just be real with yourself. And this is what I want. So if you want that formal aspect, you want to be that formal, efficient design firm that creates, incredible designs that are functional and efficient and flow and elegant and sophisticated, own that. Own it 100%. Just be real with who you are and what you want to portray to your clients and what you want them to feel. And you're going to naturally tap into that.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that comes up to the last thing too, is that, is this the real you? And I've had this happen many, many times, not just with interior designers, but with other clients where they have me create this whole color palette. I mean, I had one client, we created this whole new brand, color palette, logos, imagery, everything. And she absolutely hated it.
Oh, no.
But we created exactly what she insisted upon.
What she asked for, what she thought.
What she asked for. And then it came out that she was trying to portray herself as someone else in the industry. She loved the energy of that person, and she wanted to bring that same level of energy into her business. The trouble is she was trying to, look like that person, but she's not that person. That person energy was amazing. And their colors and everything were on point because they were genuine to that person. And so, I said, okay, I'm going to do what I think without your input. I'm just going to create something that I think. If you hate it, you hate it. No big deal. But I'm going to create something new for you just based on what I know of you, rather than any of the input that you've given me of what you wanted. And 3 years later, she still loves her brand.
Aww.
So that's the aspect of things is this the real you? When you look at your brand, do you just be like, oh, that is me, and you just get teary-eyed and excited, like when you find the perfect dress or that perfect outfit for something, and you're like, oh, that's just it. That's perfect, right? Do you feel that? Or do you like, oh yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. If you don't have that emotional attachment, then you're probably not on the right track.
That's great insight. Just like when we're designing an interior, there's usually a feel. There's a click where you're like, yep, I love that. That just feels right for this client. We've got to be able to do that with ourselves. And I feel like it's harder to do it for ourselves than it is for other people, for sure.
It's so hard to do it for ourselves. But one of the things that I heard from one of my teachers in my personal life is that you got to trust your intuition. You mentioned intuition earlier. And as a designer, you've got to trust your intuition. Sometimes things just work and you don't know why. But one of the tests that I always do is that the heart never lies and the heart doesn't tell a story. It just knows. The brain is going to try and justify why this is wrong, why this is this, what you should do. And it's going to tell this big old diatribe speech about why you should do things differently, where the heart is just be like, nope.
I like this. This feels right.
And that's all it needs to say, because that's all that is necessary to say. So there you go.
Love it. All right. Before we wrap up, Teresa, can you recap your tips again? Because they were great today.
So the first thing is, if you're sitting here looking at redoing your brand colors or creating your brand colors for the first time, stop and take a look at your portfolio and start looking for those patterns and those trends. What overall do you see? Not trends, but your own personal patterns and trends that are unique to you. Take a look at that and start piecing together those things that grab your attention. Look out in nature, look in art, look at your cultural influences, your personal experiences, memories, anything like that. Look into your life, look at your wardrobe, which I don't mention in my blog post, but it's a great place to look. Look at your house, your home. Where do you get inspired and what colors do you have? And again, start capturing those things that you see, those patterns that are repeating themselves. And then have fun creating a mood board, bringing in all those aspects. Everything that you love in a visual form, bring that together in a mood board, because you're going to start finding those colors that pick out, and the perfect colors, not just I think it's good enough, but those colors that really speak to you. And then creating that harmony in your color palette where, what are those emotions that you want to evoke with your clients? What do you want them to feel when they're working with you? How do you want to feel as a designer? And do those colors create that harmony feel? Ask yourself that. And then finally, when you're all, when you're done, before you really go crazy finalizing everything and spending a lot of money on new logos, is it real for you? Does it feel real? Do you look at it and be like, that's me. I love it. So those are my tips this week or this month.
Thank you so much. And for designers and anybody watching, Teresa's website is a wealth of resources and just mic drop moments of wisdom when it comes to branding and colors and websites. So I think the video is inverse. So I think her link is up over there if I point that way. Check out Teresa. Her work is fabulous. And we'll be back again next month, I'm guessing, for more website wisdom. And I cannot wait to see what you have to share.
All right. Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks, Teresa.
Bye.